Well, hey guys, welcome back to Stinson Farms. Hey, we got the 7000 planter hooked up to the 3020 today. I had a video a while back changing over the closing wheels to the Yetter poly twisters. We got those on. Uh, I'm going to finish up the setup on the planter, and I mentioned it at that time, getting it set up for no-till, and just go through some things that I'm going to check, some things that I may have to do, and some stuff I've already done. But I think we're going to be okay. I really don't think we're going to have to do any adjustments or anything, but there is some adjustments on here that we can make if we need to, and those adjustments will affect our planting depth, whether we get the trench opened up far enough, and if we're getting the corn in the ground far enough and getting the trench closed. So those are the things that we're interested in the environment that we're going to be planting in. Now we're going to be planting into some sod ground. It was hay ground, pasture ground. We have sprayed that with burn down, waiting on it to get ready to go in and everything dead so we can go in and plant. And of course it's been raining for the past week, so we're on a standstill right now anyway. But I've got my planter greased. It's greased up. All the chains are lubed. Everything's ready to go. We got to put the boxes on, and then we're going to set this thing down and do a few checks on it, and then we'll do a test run here in this field. This is not the field that we're going to be planting in, but it's the type of ground we're going to be planting in. So I'm going to use this right here as the check and see if I got my planter set up right. Of course, when we get in the field, we'll have to check. We'll make sure that we're planting good that day when we are planting in that particular ground, but I'm gonna do my checks here. But right now we'll get the boxes put on and we'll be ready to try it out and see what it'll do. So something I have forgotten in the past, and you'll figure it out really quick. Once you get your box lashed in place, if you've got a 7000 planter, you already know this, I'm sure, but just a reminder, make sure you engage it. This little lever right here disengages your gear from your sprocket drive over. So make sure you engage it so your meter will turn. All right, we got all the boxes on. I got just a little bit of corn in the boxes because I want to be able to check my corn depth in my trenches. So what we've done, I bought this planter, and the row cleaners, the coulters and everything was already on it. It's got Yetter row cleaners and coulters. It had the smooth closing wheels in the back. The only thing I've done upgrades wise is put the spike wheels on the back. Now, one thing I did do that I hadn't before is check to see how level my planter was running once it was down. And it was tilted a little bit forward, and I have raised it up on the hitch here in the front as far as I can, and it's closer. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close to level. And what I mean by that is on this bar right here, your main bar running through your machine, and it's just a little bit off. It's not much. Now, of course, your planter, your row units are going to fluctuate. They're made to go up and down with the ground, and when you check them setting all the way down, they're a little lower, so they're not exactly level sitting here in this position either, but they're going to fluctuate. They're going to go up and down. So I had a question the other day. I don't run a monitor on this machine. I do have a monitor for it. I don't run it. I had a question the other day, is how do I know that it's planting correctly without a monitor? So what I do is I've got, come around here, I'll show you what I've got set up. And it's just typical. And I didn't count the teeth on the sprocket. I was going to, but I didn't. But I've got my chain coming off my drive here, and then where I've got these sprockets, the sprockets I'm running here from my input to my output is the ones I've got them set on. I'm targeting around 32,000 seed per acre, and we're pretty close on that. And we know that because that's where I've been running it, and it's pretty close. It's pretty accurate. Now I will see a little variance on my seed spacing from time to time. This is on 32,000 acre. You're looking at 3 to 4 inches on your seed spacing. It's not always 100% perfect, but it does a really good job. It's pretty close. I don't know each individual row while I'm planting if it is planting correctly or not. But once I get my speed set, of course, when we start the machine and start planting, we're going to check our seed spacing. We're going to check our seed depth, and we'll know if we're getting the right amount of seed to be targeted at that 32,000 seed per acre. So at that point, all I do is wash my boxes. I try to put the equal amount of seed per box. And you can see through the boxes to your level of seed, and I just watch them. It's not the best. I mean, we do have a monitor for it. I should be running it, but I don't. So that's the way I do it. I just kind of look at it and plant with this machine like I did my old one, which didn't have the monitor system on it. But we've had good luck with it. So I've got my speed for my planters set, targeting 32,000 seed per acre. 3 to 4 inches drop should be. We've got this unit leveled up the best we can. Now, if we can't get our double disc openers in the ground deep enough, if we can't get the trench deep enough, we have springs here, and you can adjust the tension on these springs to put more or less down pressure on your row unit. Also, the same thing back here on our closing wheels, because this is an old machine. It's a 700, but it's an old one. Back here we've got this bolt with a spring in here, and if you see, it's got quite a bit of resistance there, but you can adjust that amount of resistance with that bolt right there. So depending on your soil conditions, you may have to adjust for more down pressure, less down pressure, and the same back here. If you're not getting your trench closed, you may have to put a little more pressure down. If you get in looser ground, I may have to loosen this up. And this year we're going to be planting both types. We're going to be doing some no-till. We're also planting in some conventional till. So when I go into the conventional till with these new spiked wheels on here, I may have to back the tension off of my closing wheel arm so it's not going so deep in the ground. But we'll see how that works. Right now we're going to drop the planter down out here in this sod here in front of us in the hayfield, and we're going to see what it'll do, how deep we can get it, and whether or not we're closing the trench. Now the ground's a little wet. We've had a lot of rain, but I think this will give us a pretty good look at how it's going to do before we start our planting. completely closed. I don't know what the wheels look like running. But you can see right here, you can still see the trench open just a little bit. I do see the indentions, right, like right here and right here of the spikes. And hopefully that's pushing the wall together. I'm gonna dig that up just a little bit right there and see what we got. So just bear with me, guys. I'm new at this, so I'm trying to figure it out as I go. But just putting my knife blade down to the bottom of the coulter. Depth is 2.5 inches. So I know my coulter is going 2.5 inches. We'll check it in front of the closing wheels in just a moment. But I really want to try and find a seed. There it is. So there's the seed. And that seed is exactly 2 inches. So I usually try to target around 1.5 to 2 inches. Some things, some people I've been listening to, some things I've been reading, talk about when you're planting no-till and you're planting into a heavy sod type of ground, it doesn't hurt if your seed is 2.5 inches. So if we can get a 2-inch deep seed in this ground right here, and it's pretty hard. I know it's wet, but it's also, this has been a hay field for decades. This, where we're at right now, has not been tilled in a long time. So if we can get, if we're getting our double disc openers deep enough to put a seed in at 2 inches, I think we'll be good. Now let's look at it in front. See what our trench looks like before and after. So here it is. If you can see it, I can easily put my finger in it, just right down in it, and I can push my finger down to a good 2 inches. So that's coming out of the double disc openers before we hit our closing wheels. Here in the same row, yeah, there's no gap to get your finger in. So it is closing it up, and that seed that I dug out was in the ground good. I think we're gonna be okay. So I think we look okay. I'm happy with that. The only thing is, and you probably noticed, when I dropped it down, my row cleaners are touching the ground now. But when we first started back there, they weren't, but that ground's extremely hard right in front of the barn. But they're not doing a lot. But in this particular environment, there's not a lot for them to do. There is an adjustment on them right here. We could drop them down a little bit if we see that we need to. We could drop them down a hole. There's various holes. Each hole drops it down just a little bit, and we can get a little more contact with the ground with them if we need to. In the same way here with your sward, if your sward wasn't going far enough in the ground, your coulter, you've got different holes here. Take this bolt out, rotate it, put it in different slots, and it'll drop it down just a little bit at a time, and you can get it. But we're going deep enough. We're fine with that. I'm happy with the double disc openers, and really I'm happy with the row closers. I think if this ground was a little bit drier, it'd probably do a little better job as far as not seeing a trace of that trench. But it is closing it up around the seed. I think we're good. So I'm going to turn around and we're going to plant going back the other way, and we'll see what it'll do. All right, we're down here in some little bit shorter grass, and as you can see, you can still make out that trench. You can see it. As far as it being there, you can tell where it's at. And I've got a problem. Oh, there it is. Pocket knife. I put it in the wrong pocket. I thought I had lost it. But you see this trench right here. But it's closed. And like I said, we've been having a lot of rain, but this ground here is not muddy. And you can see it's flaking up good, but it's out here in this sod. There should be a seed in here somewhere. And of course, this is not the only testing that we will do. I mean, when I get in the field and get to planting, I'm going to do this very thing in every new field I go in. And I'm looking for a seed. I put just a handful of seed in those boxes. I may not have none by the time I got to here. It's a real good possibility. But if you can see how much I'm cutting that open just to get into it, it's closing that trench up. I'm really happy with that. I think I ran out of seed. Let's try another row. There it is. All right, I just rolled that up. It was right there. So we're still within that 1.5 to 2 inch range. I'm tickled with that. So I raised this up. I wanted to look right here again at the difference. Right here is our trench after the closing wheels. Right here is our trench before the closing wheels. And if I was smart, I'd come up here and look first, because right there's my corn seed. before it's closed up. And that seed's sitting at about 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. So there we go. So the last thing I'm going to do, and I'll just do this after the fact, we probably won't record this today, but the last thing I'm going to do, I said in my other video when I put these poly twister wheels on, these shafts or pins here that I had to put in to make the changeover, they're all right hand threaded. And Tim with Tada Farms, he asked me about that. The kit that I got, if this side, if half of them was left hand thread. Well, no, the ones they sent me was all right hand thread. And of course, with your motion going this way on this side, it would be tightening your nut, but on this side it could loosen your nut and your wheel could become loose. So my original plan was to drill these and pin them, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to double nut them and put a lock nut on it. And the reason I'm going to do that is if I have to do any adjustment or shimming on these, moving them in and out, I want to keep them to where they're the center of the trench is dead in the center of these wheels. So I may have to adjust them a little bit if I run into any problem. And if I drill these and pin them, the moment I make an adjustment, then my holes won't line back up. So I'm just going to double nut them and lock nut them, and hopefully they'll stay tight. But I think we're going to be good. Well guys, that's the video. Hopefully the next time you see this planter, we'll be in the field planting corn. And I appreciate you being here, and I hope this helps. There were some questions asked out there from other videos, and I'm learning. This is a new experience for me as far as the no-till part of it. I think this machine's going to do it. I think we're going to be set up and do just fine. But I hope this helps. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And I know I have learned some things messing with it, and I hope I was able to help you if you had any questions. And we're going to give it a shot. I think it'll work out. So guys, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you following the channel. I appreciate you watching our videos. And as always, we'll see you next time.